Right, I said I was going to do this later, as in not today, but I seem to have quite a lot of time on my hands suddenly. The fact that the docs are not working, really. This is about a guy called Jamie Leigh Clark, who lives in Wales, and he was taken into custody over alleged excessive noise, I think he said, in his house or something like that. I don't think anything was ever proved, but when the police officers came round, they just basically blatantly lied and said he'd tried to bite one of them. Well, because that's what the police do, is just blatantly fucking lie. This is Welsh Police, I think I mentioned that, yeah. So they then took him into custody. 7 of them basically grappled with him in the police station, controlled him, cordoned him, or whatever, you know. Took 7 of them, despite the fact he wasn't actually resisting in any way. So they took him straight past the cell's reception area. No reading of the rights or anything like that, which they said was unnecessary. That's one of Cambridge Police's tricks, isn't it? You don't need to read your fucking rights. We can do what we fucking like. We just make up the law as we fucking go along. Now stick with me on this, guys, because this is quite a horrific fucking story. It's been on the news and everything in Wales. So he's then put in a cell. I've seen videos of all of this stuff. You can catch it on his page, which is called Police Camera Action Access All Areas on Facebook. All the videos are there. There's about 4 of them at least in the cell, 6 or 7 in total in the cell and in the corridor. I mean, it must have been a slow fucking night, do you know what I mean? And they then slammed the cell door as they've come out without looking, and he's basically lost, I think it's at least 3 of his fingers, because they've been caught in the cell door. They then left it shut for about a minute whilst they all stood there looking fucking gormless. No sound, unfortunately. But then, of course, they'd probably just deny whatever they said anyway. So they then opened it again, and they then left him in there for over 2 hours, bleeding. I mean, we know they're a bunch of fucking psychopaths, but really, when he was actually looking up at the camera while he was kneeling on the ground in pain, pleading to get medical attention, which they weren't providing, or any kind of assistance at all, I think they should all be fucking shot, really. I mean, they clearly have no concern for any kind of humanity whatsoever. It certainly sounds to me like all the charges were trumped up, and indeed he was cleared in court of allegedly biting this police officer, which obviously never happened. The IPCC are more concerned, IPCC as it was, are more concerned, it's now the IOPC, that he recorded a meeting that they didn't know he was recording, and that he'd put stuff on Facebook. That's all they seem to be fucking concerned about. Remarkably, of course, you know, they cleared out all the police officers, because, well, let's face it, that's what the fucking IPCC is for, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's quite horrific, and he's been left obviously scarred for life, missing 3 of his fingertips, I think it is. From what I've seen, it came down in a line, so obviously progressively worse the further his hand was round on the door. But they just walked out and shut the cell door. They didn't fucking look. And then to leave him there for 2.5 hours is just an indictment of what vile Nazi fucking pricks the police are these days, really. You know, we've seen this with the Cambridge Police. In my case, there's never been any denial whatsoever by the chief constable that he wants me murdered in prison. For the amount of times I've said it, never once. They were going to sue me for slander, for blackening their name. Not a fucking thing. No. So this is, quite fucking disgusting, really. To actually cripple a man and then just leave him alone for 2.5 hours, fucking bleeding in a cell. A cup of water, I think they gave him. that was about it, through the little hatch, you know. Didn't even try and come in. Eventually paramedics were called, but, you know, it's quite... So what, I'm not going to lie to you guys, to watch some of the video footage is quite fucking sickening. For God's sake. Shut up, you noisy bastard. Right. To watch some of the footage is quite fucking sickening. And the video that he has of what's left of his fingers, also really. And I know to some extent what the guy's going through, because I had a work injury once and basically my fingertip was almost severed off. And that's happened to him 3 times over. And I got medical attention within the hour, that being the time it took to get things sorted out and get me to the hospital. I can't even imagine 2-3 hours. It's just fucking horrific. So an award, I think, to Wales Police for being the most sociopathic, psychotic, vile pieces of shit on the planet. And get onto this page, guys. Police camera action, access all areas, and have a look at some of this stuff. It really is just fucking shocking. And do feel free to send your regards to the Welsh fucking animal fucking police. Anyway, I shall see you all